The Chicago Bulls finished a record of 46-36 and ended up losing to the Bucks in the first round of playoffs in 2022 season. Early on in the season, they looked like true title contenders. However, they were only beating teams that were below 500, and they had one of the easiest schedules early on in the season. And as the season progressed, they realized that they were losing versus all the true contenders, and they kind of phased out as being a real contender in the Eastern Conference. However, this was a win for them this season because they made a big jump after signing Demar DeRozen, Lonzo Ball, and Alex Caruso. The Bulls also won this year's offseason by retaining their superstar in Zach LaVine to a 5-year deal. So they're pretty much running it back with the same roster. But they do have some flaws in their games that I want to make some moves to fill those flaws. So first up, they ranked 29th in total rebounding at 49.3 a game. That's one above league worst. So they definitely need to up that side of the ball. Because if you don't get rebounds, other team gets other possessions, more possessions of the team, more shots, more points. You get why rebounding is important for a contending team. And they ranked 30th in three-point attempts per game. Now, this is solely to do that DeMar DeRozan, his big part of his game is the mid-range, and Zach LaVine as well is a great mid-range shooter. So I can see why they're 30th, but they still need to be around league average for attempts per game, even though they're a pretty good three-point shooting team with Lonzo. Vooch can hit the three, Zach LaVine can hit the three, Alex Caruso. They had some shooters on the team, but they just weren't taking high enough volume. And you have to shoot and make a high volume to be true contenders in the league. Next, they ranked 22nd opponents' points per game in the paint. Definitely need to up that, especially in the Eastern Conference when you have Jason Tatum that gets a lot of buckets in the paint. You have Joel Embiid, Giannis. Like a lot of contenders in the East have real paint threats on offense. The Heat have Jimmy Butler, so they definitely need to increase their interior defense to really compete with the teams in the Eastern Conference. So here are 4 moves that the Bulls can still make before the start of the season to improve the roster. Now, I know the thumbnail says 4 trades they can make. I actually have 2 trades and 2 free agency signings they can still do. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before I get into the moves, if you guys can look at this number and change it for me, the percentage is a little off here, and I'm hoping y'all can subscribe and help me get to 1,000. Appreciate y'all. So the first trade we have here is with the Indiana Pacers. So they're trading Vucevic and a first-round pick for Miles Turner. Now, this may seem like an overpay for Miles Turner, but Vooch did have a down year last year, and he's not really exactly what they need as a center. They need a shot blocker, rebounding big, and Turner can also step out and hit the three, so you're not losing any shooting versatility. And the Pacers are a rebounding team, so I think in order to do this, they would have to take on the Bulls would have to give a 2023 first-round pick, and that first-round pick is Portland. Now, I think there's a possibility that this Portland pick can be a lottery selection. Now, I love Damian Lillard. I think, I like that he's trying to stay in Portland to win a championship. However, he is coming off an injury-riddled season. He is coming off surgery. The Blazers have a bunch of new players on the team that could take half a season to gel. And in a very competitive Western Conference, we have a lot of teams getting in there on the back end this year. You have, the Pelicans, you have the Kings, and a bunch of other teams making pushes for the 8th, playoff spots. And I don't think it's out of the possibility that the Blazers then fall out of the 8 spots and then this pick becomes a lottery pick. So that's why I think the Pacers will do this. And plus, they could play Vucevic for a year, get his trade value up into a sign-and trade next season. Or they can choose not to play him and just tank. This will make their team worse because they're obviously, after the Victor Wembanyama sweepstake, I pronounced his last name wrong, but it is what it is. So, the Pacers are trying to lose games. So if they trade for Vucevic, get the first-round pick out of the deal, and either bench Vucevic or they waive him or they do end up playing him for, garbage time to get his trade value up, that could be a possibility for them too. But, for the Bulls, you get a shot blocker, rebounding, three-point shooting big. That will fit perfectly with this Bulls offense. So the next trade I have here is for Kevin Durant. I know you've seen a ton of Kevin Durant trades, but I think this is a real possibility that the Nets say yes to this if they're still adequate on moving Kevin Durant. And I think this is one of the better trade offers that they will receive since the value for Kevin Durant isn't as high as people originally thought it was. So Bulls get Kevin Durant, scoring champ, will get you 30 any given night, instantly makes you a contending team, can play, defense in spurts, given his age, he can't play it all the time, but he can give you defense on the end. And, we know who Kevin Durant is. We know how he can, impact your team and turn into a championship winning team. Now, turn for the Nets, they get Lonzo Ball, Kobe White, Javonte Green, Patrick Williams, a 2023 Portland pick, a 2024 Bulls pick, and a 2026 Bulls pick as well. So start Lonzo Ball, great defensive point guard, can great catch and shoot 3-point shooter, can facilitate for you, can be the head of your offense on a very good team, offensively and defensively. You have Kobe White, who you don't really know what his role in the NBA is going to be yet. I don't think he's a starting level point guard. I think he's a great spark off the bench, like Lou Will, Jamal Crawford, Jordan Clarkson. Like, I think he could be a sixth man one day, but I don't think he's starting caliber. That's just my opinion. Javonte Green is mainly in here for contract reasons, but he's a good hustle player and just a good guy to have your team, to play a couple minutes at the 4, play some minutes at the 3, play some minutes at the 2. He's a very versatile player. Always good to have a couple of those on the back end of your bench. Next, you have Patrick Williams. He does have a lot of potential, but right now he's just a really solid defensive player. Will his offensive game grow? It's only a matter of time. We don't know that at this point. But he is a hard worker, and I do believe he's going to be a good young asset in this trade. And then the Nets are getting 3 first-round picks, which isn't bad out of the deal, because they're really being offered only like 2 or 3 at max, and with worse players on the table than this. So I think this is a good trade for both sides. Will the Nets realistically say yes to this? Probably not. And will the Bulls do this? I'd hope they do this, because it instantly makes them a contender. You still have Zach LaVine, you still have DeMar DeRozan, you still have Vucevic, you still have Kevin Durant, you have Alex Caruso. Like, you have a starting 5. Your bench is going to suffer, but just fill those, fill the bench spots and free agent signings, and you have a good starting lineup to move forward with this season. So now we're getting on to the 2 free agent pickups that are still available to them. Number 1 is Ben Mclemore. Now, he's really not lived up to the 7th pick overall that he was, I think, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. He was the 7th overall pick. But right now, he's really just a high volume catch and 3-point shooter. He's a pretty good shooter. Doesn't give you much on defense. Doesn't give you any playmaking. But however, they need to up their 3-point volume. And I think just sliding Ben Mclemore onto this team would be a great addition, because he will, he will shoot the ball. If nothing else, he will shoot the ball, open, contested, whatever it is. He's going to up the volume, stretch your defense out for DeMar and Zach LaVine to attack the paint. And I think he'd be a great small addition for this team. And lastly is Jeremy Lamb. Pretty much the same thing as Ben Mclemore, but he gives you a little bit more defense, but a little less shot making skill. But I know Jeremy Lamb can be a great, wing guy for you. Just be on the perimeter, shoot the ball when he's open, play a little defense, give you some run. And that's pretty much what Jeremy Lamb is in his career. I'm kind of surprised he's not on a team already. Maybe he's asking for too much money. Who knows? But if they can get him on a minimum, I think that could be a very positive impact for this Bulls team moving forward. All right, that is the 4 moves that the Chicago Bulls can still make to improve their roster coming up this season. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.